Oakwood Collegiate was one of the first high schools in Toronto to offer a course in African civilizations. And last fall, it began after-school classes in traditional African dance. But it wasn't only African students who signed up, and that raised concerns over just who could or should represent African culture. But as Mike Wise discovered, there were a lot of lessons to be learned beyond keeping the beat.
It's the dance that keeps them in awe. Elementary students from 10 North York schools watching every move a high school African dance troupe makes. But there's one thing the kids don't seem to notice. Very few of the dancers can claim any connection to Africa. What they are connected to is this high school, Oakwood Collegiate, in Toronto's West End. It's a school with a population to match the city's. Faces of every color and origin fill the hallways. And last October, the school's African club decided to start an African dance troupe. The idea proved very successful, attracting a wide range of students. Each week they'd meet after school to practice, but as the lessons continued, some of the dancers began to question just who was in the group. Because after months of learning African dances, black students had become the minority.
It must have been like 80%, 90% other than black.
Angela McCleary is one dancer who wanted more black students in the group, especially when they were expected to perform for Black History Month.
For me, it was just something that I had to do to represent my culture, my heritage.
It was a traditional South African dance, and traditionally the South African people that do that dance are black.
The group's racial makeup was a problem for their choreographer as well, at least initially. Sitkabi Tawuyane was born in South Africa, but has lived in Canada for 18 years.
When I first came, the big percentage of the students were black students. And then the other students from other cultures showed up. So when they showed up, I said, "Ooh, here we go now." And when that happened, I personally had to deal with my own prejudices.
The group's prejudices seem to be getting in the way, leading to an increasing racial tension.
A whole lot of things are going around. And some people felt like, you know, white people ain't got no rhythm, they can't do the dance, kind of thing.
The school's answer was to sit everyone down and tackle the students' concerns, fears, and stereotypes head on.
Certain people thought that the people wanted it to be, the black people in the school wanted it to be, all black and not white people allowed, when really what people wanted to see was a majority of black students in it.
When the whole thing started, I just came by and watched for a long time, and then we started dancing, and it was really a lot of fun.
In the real world, we don't deal with issues, so we just kind of say, oh, we'll just forget about it, whatever. But it was really nice to just, sit down with everyone and talk about it openly, about our feelings.
People usually separate themselves into their own groups, and then they talk about racism, but they're not doing anything about it, and I think this is symbolic because we're doing something about it.
Basically, what you see here is the people who were the most committed, no matter, what race.
I think a lot of people had to come to terms with their own racism, because a lot of people that were in the group had to come to terms because they liked the dance, but they also had their own stereotypes.
These kids have cried to me, I've cried myself. We've had endless meetings, but maintained that this is for everyone, because we are all Canadians. We live here in Canada. We have to learn to accept one another, each other's culture.
Then the day of reckoning, their first performance at Black History Month.
I was a little nervous because it was an African dance with a multicultural dancers, so I was a little afraid that people would start booing us off the stage or something, but once we got on and nothing happened, I got into it, and it was really good.
You're saying into yourself, what are they saying? I mean, what are they saying about us? Are they saying like we look so stupid? But then when you get down, even some people like outside, when you're doing it, they're like, that's great, where did you learn that?
Now the group is moving on, today performing at York University for elementary school students, teaching them what they know about the traditional African tribal dances, music, and what they learned in the process.
Anyone could do this dance. It's just as long as you feel it in yourself. It doesn't depend on your culture or color. It depends on the person you are and your abilities.
Dance is a spirit. When we see somebody dance and the body dancing and stuff, what's really dancing is the spirit inside. Because in each and every human being, that spirit can be touched. You know, just like you see in our group here, we come from different cultural backgrounds. But the spirit has been touched, and it's like there's that fire inside.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2.
There has been some changes. And for all the students to be here, they individually had to change, make a step towards real understanding.
We found out a way to deal with it, and we had to be honest and truthful, and we had to just let it all out.
It's really symbolic as to life and like what we're going through now in society with the racial differences and the racism, and we just symbolize what we have to do.
Mike Wise, CBC News, Toronto.